Welcome, I'm the DeadwoodJedi. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. We're on the test server today. We're going to take a look at all these new champions that just came into the game. There are, I would say overall, they all look really, really good. Haven't had a chance to test them all out, but they all look pretty darn good. Some of them obviously going to be better than others, but let's start it off and jump right in. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one that comes out. And of course, if you enjoyed today's music, we have that SoundStripe link down below in the pinned comment description of this video, and you can use code DeadwoodJedi to save 15%. So let's go ahead and begin with the Void Legendary. This is going to be the banger of this group. Absolutely the best champion in this group. I've played around very, very little, and everything I've seen so far is very impressive. This is a champion that looks like they can hit decently hard. Brings a lot of positive things, both as a protection champion, as an offensive champion. There's just a lot of stuff in here to like. So let's go ahead and begin talking about Grazer Iron Gut. Grazer, I mean, AoE on all the skills. All three of them are going to be AoE skills. A defensive based champion, so all the damage is based off defense, which means that actually using defense stuff is really, really effective. You can build him survive, and he's going to be able to hit harder as a result of that. A1 attacks all enemies, places a shield buff on all allies except for this champion for 1 turn, and the value of the shield is proportional to this champion's defense. Now, I do have to be clear, not a big shield, right? It's not a Valkyrie style shield, but still being able to place a shield based off of his damage stat is really advantageous for us. So that's definitely a solid thing right there. But obviously, that can get bigger with increased defense buffs, building the defense super high, booking him, haven't done that obviously either. There's lots of things that can make this skill better, but it's not going to be a crazy, crazy big shield. And it does only survive for 1 turn. That's another thing to kind of keep in mind here. But it does obviously offer up a lot of options as far as using him in a variety of spots in this game. And I think this champion is going to be great in a lot of different areas. A2 ability, attacks all enemies, heals this champion by 10% of the damage dealt, increases duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn, and the damage is based off of enemy max HP. So first off, enemy max HP hits are amazing and fantastic. The fact that this is an AoE ability is even better. The fact that he heals based off of the damage off of an enemy max HP hit can be pretty darn significant. And then increase in duration of all buffs. So he's a buff extension champion. There's just so much to like about this. And it does book down to a 3-turn cooldown. This is an absolutely crazy good skill. And then the A3 here, AoE again, has a books up to 100% chance of placing provoke on all enemies for 1 turn, and also places increased resistance and increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. It's really nice. So he's going to place increased resistance, which we don't have a lot of in this game, increased defense, which only makes all of his other abilities even better. He extends those buffs with this next skill, because this books down a 3-turn cooldown as well. And then his A1 places that shield, which is obviously, even better because it's got that increased defense buff on. This is an incredibly, incredibly strong champion and ability. Yeah, really, really good. I think if you haven't seen it already, this is obviously something that's going to be amazing for Hydra. I think actually could be pretty darn good for things like Arena. Definitely has a lot of potential here. Passive ability, whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies except this champion by 70% of the damage received. Only heals by 35% of the damage received from boss attacks. So a lot of healing available in this too, and places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn before receiving a fatal hit. So there's a lot in here, The unkillable ability, I think, obviously makes this a champion that could be viable for things like Demon Lord Clan Boss. I don't think that's where he's going to be best at, but definitely usable there. Going to be really good, obviously, for Hydra. Enemy max HP hits are rare and super valuable for Hydra, especially. Being able to place increased resistance always helps, especially when we're talking about that Head of Mischief and trying to avoid his those steals abilities, right? Increased defense helps us survive. The passive ability with no cooldown that he heals everybody when he gets hit is massive. And then the A1, even the shield on that, is something that is really helpful for helping keep your team alive. So I would say that the number 1 spot that this guy's going to be great in is going to be Hydra. But obviously, there's other areas. The unkillable ability is really nice too. I can see him actually being really strong in Arena. increased resistance, increased defense, the passive healing ability, the unkillable ability that it gives himself. All those things are really, really valuable. So there's a lot of stuff. The provoke, I forgot about that. AoE provoke is really nice. So this looks to be a really nice champion. AoE attacks are really good. Does look like he hits decently hard. I don't know that he's going to be as strong of a nuker as, say, like a Soulless or something like that. But he definitely, for a defensive-based champion, does look like he can hit pretty decently hard as an AoE. So I'm excited about this champion. I think there's a lot to like about Grazer Iron Gut. Definitely a champion that we should be looking forward to getting. Okay, so I spent a lot of time talking about the one I was really excited about, but all these champions are really good. We've got Alsgor Crimson Horn. Very interesting champion, right? This is the pairing to go with the fusion champion that's going to be available here. What's her name? Tilda or something? The giant, this one, right? We've got this Jettie the giant, right? That's the one. So Alsgor is going to be a pairing with Jettie. And so a lot of their skills are going to work together. It looks like a good champion. Definitely looks very cool, right? I can't hate on this kind of, I don't know. I'm getting a very 1980s space rock kind of vibe. Heavy metal, anybody? That's kind of what's coming to my mind, but all the same, definitely going to be an interesting champion to get. So A1 heals his champion by 20% of the damage dealt, 40% chance of increasing duration of 2 random debuffs on the target by 1 turn, right? And that books up to 6%. But this guy, HP based champion, right? So all the skills, all the damage is HP based. That's definitely helps for survivability. And this is another big thing. So this one does healing based off the damage dealt, right? Everything else is based off of his HP, which is great. So A2, AoE skill removes 2 buffs from enemies and will remove all the buffs from all enemies, even on a weak hit if Jettie's on the same team. So that makes them actually kind of an interesting combination for Hydra, I think. I do believe Jettie is of an arena-based kind of champion, and obviously Alsgor with that buff removal could be good for arena, right? If we think of champions like Uko, right, and his ability to strip buffs out, I think Alsgor obviously kind of works in a similar faction. Also places continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns. So a lot of healing so far, a lot of buff removal or debuff extension. And then the A3 fully heals a target ally, and then places block damage on all allies for 2 turns. So we have finally a new block damage champion. It's not just Tower, not just Helicath, right? Not just Sir Nicholas, Maneater, Demitha, we are Warcaster. We now have Crimson Horn on that same level, can do that same thing. Haven't tested him out, so I don't know what his damage is like, right? If we're bringing him into a clan boss team, an unkillable style team, I'm not sure how well he works for that, but obviously block damage is a great boon for any area of this game, so that's always good. And this passive is actually really cool. When attacked, 50% chance of placing decreased speed on the attacker for 2 turns. That's 100% if Jettie's on the same team. This is really great. This is very similar to Lord Champfort, another champion that we have in this game, where he has the same kind of passive ability. That's a super great passive ability for Hydra. And I think, with the block damage, with the buff stealing, there's definitely something to be said that this could be a very solid Hydra champion. I don't know where he's actually going to be best in, to be honest with you. Obviously pairs really well with Jettie for things like arena, but I'm not sure that that's really going to be their best spot. I'm afraid a little bit that these 2 champions are going to find themselves in that in-between stage where they don't really fit well for Hydra. They don't fit great for clan boss. They're kind of maybe used for some Doom Tower stuff, but like they don't have a defined place to be used at, right? Because maybe they don't work perfectly for arena. And I'm a little bit nervous that that's what's going to be the case with these 2 champions. So that's kind of what has me a little bit nervous about them. I do think he's got some cool stuff in his kit. The passive ability, the block damage, those things are amazing just off their own. And then adding to that, the buff strip, the healing, all that's quite nice. So, it's not the worst thing in the world, but definitely, I would put this guy at like a B+ A- style champion right now. Of course, we do have Jettie. Should go over her kit really quickly. Obviously, stun on the A1, decreased defense on the on that A1 as well. Oh, that's always a very good, having those passive abilities. A 2-hitter. AoE for the A2 ignores defense, which is really nice. Places decreased defense and it can't be resisted if Alsgor's on the same team. That's a really good combination right there. And then, of course, the A3 is another AoE. It's a double hitter, increased crit rate and crit damage on this champion, and gets an extra turn if it kills an enemy and Alsgord's on the same team. All in all, pretty solid for like a nuke damage dealing style champion. And then, of course, 20% more damage against targets under shields and ignores shields if Alsgord's on the same team. So with Jettie, there is, especially when you pair her with Alsgord, there is some potential for some, I think, pretty interesting arena stuff, right? Where you get a couple of big hits, you're ignoring some defense, you're ignoring shields, placing decreased defense and kind of setting yourself up to go further. So there are some potential there, right? I'm not in love with her kit. And I don't think she's going to be a champion that we need again. And because Alsgord's kind of in a similar vein, I'm not sure that their pairing up really makes a huge difference for us. And I'm not sure that they're going to be like this, you know, it's not quite the Venus Cupidus kind of combination. So I'm not sure where we use her, if that's something that we really want to get into, but she's obviously got a decent kit, right? You know, it's one of those champions where I say, you know, legendary, if you confuse it, why not? But not somebody that I'm eager to go get and I'm going to break my bank to go for. Now, it's not just legendaries. We do have 3 fun epics to go with as well. Isnia. I can't, man, her name is something funky. It's we've got this going as well, right? So she's an HP based champion, and actually I really like these epics a lot. Attacks one enemy, you know, 30%, books up to 50 to steal a buff, cool, whatever. A2 attacks all enemies before attacking, 50% chance of removing any block debuffs from all enemies. Also has a 50% chance of placing block buffs, debuffs on all enemies after attacking. Kind of a cool combo there. Now that does book up to, what is it, 80%. So it's never going to be 100%, but a chance of removing block debuffs and placing block buffs is pretty nice, especially in arena where you see a lot of that. So that's definitely something that I can see us getting a lot of usage out of. And obviously it books down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is great too. Obviously being able to place block buffs is great for stuff like Hydra as well. And also removing block debuffs can be a nice emergency if those get stolen off your team and spread around. So actually doesn't seem too bad. HP based champion again. And then the A3 books down to a 4-turn cooldown, places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP, and places a strengthen buff, the 15%er, on all allies for 2 turns. So strengthen's great, definitely good. Shield based off her max HP is also really, really nice. And that becomes a really good thing. So there's definitely good champion here. HP based champion, so that shield should be pretty sizable. And then of course the passive ability heals this champion by 30% of their max HP whenever a shield buff placed by the Shield of Aravia's skill on this champion expires, is removed, or is broken by an enemy attack. It's not a huge thing, but basically it's saying if you crack the shield she places, she's going to heal herself up. So it's not a bad little passive ability. I do think she's probably going to be pretty decent in things like Hydra as a survival champion with the shield, with the block buffs. Definitely could be pretty good there. It might be the best spot for her. She's not crazy good champion, but definitely some nice stuff in that. And I do like the ability of removing the block debuffs. I feel like there's might be some fun usage of that too. And then we have Creod in the blue. He's got a cool little pair of weapons back here with the sickle and the sword, one in hand, and very blue on top of that. Interesting little champion, right? So definitely a freeze heavy champion. A1 attacks one enemy 3 times, 25% chance of placing freeze debuff. That books up to 35%. That's basically, I think that's basically the same as what we have with Vizier, that's one. Vizier with the buff extension, right? So this should land fairly consistently. Triple hitter, a lot of freeze, obviously a Fire Knight kind of champion. The A2, double attack, AoE though, and each one has a booked up to 65% chance of placing freeze. Again, nice little Frost Knight, or what, a Fire Knight skills. And then the A3 is a 30% increased speed buff with a turn meter fill of 15%. This also books down to a 3-turn cooldown. So we have a new speed champion available to us, right? This is as viable a skill as Apothecary, High Katoon, any of those China champions with the turn meter boost and the speed buff. So that's definitely solid, right? So you need a speed champion. He's a great option. And on top of that, bring triple hit, double hit abilities, all with freeze on them. A lot to like in that for sure. And then the passive abilities, which is interesting, fills his champions by turn meter by 5%, for each freeze debuff placed by this champion. So for something like Fire Knight, obviously this could be really helpful, but also having those AoE, those freezes on these skills, right? Single hitter here, triple hitter here, but having those freeze abilities is actually really, really useful just in general. So, if you're trying to go through dungeon waves, you're trying to go through Doom Tower waves, being able to lock down the enemy by freezing them is a nice ability. So definitely a lot to like out of this champion. And somebody especially the earlier you are, you're going to really enjoy this one, I think. Kind of puts Apothecary to shame. Let's put it that way, right? Being able to not only be fast, but also be able to freeze your enemy is really, really nice ability. And then the last of the new champions is Westgar here. What an odd look, an odd body on this one here. But let's look at his kit. A1 attacks one enemy 4 times. This is a 4-hit attack. This is very unusual. And each hit heals the ally with the lowest HP by 2% of this champion's max HP. Obviously, that bumps up with the books there, but HP-based champion healing on that A1, a 4-hitter, really makes Giant Slayer really nice for this. A2 heals all allies by 10% of this champion's max HP and places a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. This does book to a 3-turn cooldown. So basically you have an AoE heal, which is solid. It is based on his max HP, so that really helps to bump up the size of this heal, and then places a counterattack buff. So he's going to get that A1 ability over and over and over again. Kind of nice. A3 here, reflect damage buff and a shield buff equal to 20% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns. So he gets to put out a big shield based off his max HP again, which is great. Reflect damage is good, so it really does a lot of protecting on everybody. This book's down to a 3-turn cooldown as well. I hate that the books are all cooldown stuff. It's kind of annoying. But he only has 1 attack skill. It's just the A1. So the counterattack allows him to use that ability and heal people up consistently. The shield's going to help protect everybody. Same with the reflect damage. This could be a very interesting champion. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to be best used, but definitely has some potential here. And also, this is probably the part that makes him the best. Restores destroyed max HP whenever this champion heals themselves or an ally. The amount of HP restored is equal to 30% of the heal. So he automatically has Miracle Heal Blessing on himself. That's a really nice little bonus. Now, I'm not sure that this healing is going to be significant enough for us to really benefit from that, but that is a really nice ability to have. I'm curious to see, on Sand Devil, does this part work even when the boss isn't sleeping, right? And is that significant enough to make it work for us? How does this work in Hydra? Can we make him a mischief head target with the counterattack buff that he puts on himself? And then, the healing that he gets out of that, is that going to be significant enough for us? Does he do good damage on that A1? A lot of questions I have about this champion, but the big thing I can tell is that this guy is going to be solid at the very least if you build him with high HP at protecting your team and keeping them alive. So in that sense, not a bad epic as well. And, he's got some, the pass is very unique. So that too is pretty cool. So there you go. Those are the 6 new champions that we have on the account. I think they're all pretty solid additions. They're not all game changers. Obviously, the epics are going to be better for some accounts than others. And, the legendary duo, I don't know that they're really my favorite combination of champions, but obviously that one new Void legendary is like a real Void legendary. He does some really cool stuff. Buff extension is so awesome. He's probably the best buff extender we'll have in this game, I think. After seeing that, easily. Max HP hits, defensive base, brings increased defense. I mean, he's going to be amazing for Clan Boss, for Hydra, I think he's actually probably be pretty good for Arena as it stands. So definitely a good champion. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this, got a little out of it. We'll be doing breakdowns of the champions over the next week or so. So pay attention for that. And that's all we got. So until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.